Hey. This Big A, baby. I'm back. That's right. Coming to you once again with an informative video. This time, I know I left off. It's been a while for me, but I've been busy, with funerals and everything. So this time I'm going to talk about family, and then we'll go back to, how to find the perfect mate a little bit later on. But let's talk about family. I'm noticing something that is remarkable these days in the differences between my generation, my father's generation, and the generations before me. I don't know no better way to put it, but people were getting lost. We're getting lost. My father and his generation before him really loved family. I mean, family was one of the most important things in the world to them. I mean, they care about nothing no more than they cared about family. And that's been a wish of my father since the beginning of time. The only real request, he's never made a request of us to be educated. He's made requests of us to do the right thing and live a good life, become good Christians and good citizens, and just generally good people. But one of his main focuses that he's wished upon us was that, we be close as family, that we love each other the way he loved his sisters and brothers. And, I'm not speaking of him in the past because my father's still living. Bless him, he has Alzheimer's right now, but my father loved his family, and my mother loved her family. And it seems like these days we only cross paths. My generation seemed to only cross paths during time of distress, during funerals and things of that nature. I saw cousins of mine this weekend that I really hadn't seen since I was a kid. And these are first cousins. These aren't second, third, fourth cousins. These are first cousins. And I know we get busy. I mean, we get too busy sometimes. But we have got to think about each other occasionally. And I told these cousins, it's my fault as much as it is anybody's. That, I want those addresses and I want those phone numbers and I want to at least put them on my Christmas list so I can, send Christmas cards to them, but so we can stay in contact. And I have brothers and sisters that we don't contact each other that much. And I don't know where that flaw developed at. I can't tell you where that flaw developed at because my father and mother loved their brothers and sisters. And if they wasn't going to visit their brothers and sisters was coming to visit them. I know some of that is that's the reason for some of that. Some of us make more effort than others to see each other. And then we get complacent sometimes. Sometimes we just get irritated that we're going out of our way to see our brothers and sisters, but they're not doing anything on their part to see us. They were going out of our way to call, but they're not doing anything on their part to call. And that's not a godly thing. That's not a Christian thing. I try to pick up my phone every time it rings, especially if I see his family. But I know I don't make as much effort as I should to reach out to other family members of mine. And that's going to change. I'm just as much at fault as anybody. But what are we teaching our kids? I mean, our kids are living a life of, this distant life with technology. They talk to each other using their phones. They texting each other. They're using emails. I mean, that's all good. At least they're making contact. But maybe our generation should do a little bit more texting. Maybe our generation should do a little bit more Instagram and Facebook and whatever it is that you're into as far as, using your technology. Maybe we should do a little bit more FaceTime and I recently purchased the Echo Show, which is a way of, doing like a conference call with my children so I can see my grandchildren more often. But my point I want to make is that we're getting lost in our own worlds. We're so busy. We can't get too busy for each other. What are we teaching our children? We can't get too busy for each other. I mean, God didn't put us on this world to be by ourselves. You can believe that or not, but man wasn't meant to be by himself. If you think I'm lying, look at some of the studies that's been done with men in outer space, with men in prolonged captivity somewhere where they were POWs or they were doing some experiments and they were oceanography people and, they were long-term underwater for some type of experimentation, long-term in some type of tank, long-term in the space station without human contact. I mean, sure, there's physical problems with this too, with the lack of movement and being confined. But what I'm talking about now is mentally what it does to you. Mankind was not meant to be alone. We have so much love in us that we could be sharing with each other. And we need to make a better effort of it, My parents set a great example for us. I mean, if it wasn't my father going to visit his sisters and brothers, my mother was going to visit her brother and her sisters. They were coming to our house to visit, and they would just, chit-chat. They would just come to visit and talk. Even if they spent an hour, even if it was a short period of time, even sometimes they would come over as a group. The ones that couldn't drive or didn't drive would get in the car with the ones that did drive. And they'd come over. My mother would have 2, 3 sisters or a sister and a brother come over, at the same time, or a niece and a sister and a brother. I remember this well. And then when we'd go to that part of the town, or when we'd go to that state, my mother would drop me off at my sister's house. And that's where she would spend her whole time, was visiting her sister. And my father would do the same, he'd go to his sister's house. And once a week, he'd go to his sister's that was close. And we're letting all kinds of stuff get in the way, We're letting little petty things, So-and-so said something about me and I didn't like it. I heard a young lady tell me today that they cut her sister off, contact with her sister. I said, why was that? Well, she put her hands on my child. And I didn't want to say, maybe a child did something that they deserved it. Because if one of my brothers and sisters decided they needed to do something to my child in the way of spanking them, which my children are grown now, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it, especially if I find out that my child was doing something wrong. But for that, cutting off contact, I hear people that don't contact their parents. They're out of contact with their mother because they had words years ago. They're out of contact with their father because they had words years ago. They had disagreements. They don't get in touch with their brothers because, they're one way and I'm the other way. I drink and they're a preacher. I don't care what the reason is. Don't wait till it's too late. I'll be the first to tell you that happened to me with a distant friend. We weren't even very close. I mean, we were friends. We were on the same bowling team. But I liked the guy, and I heard the guy was sick. And I kept saying, I got to get around and go see him. I got to go to the hospital and see him. And I kept putting it off because I thought, what he had was he just had a little common flu. Many of us have the flu. I put it off, and then the next thing I heard that he had passed away. He wasn't a relative, but I felt horrible about it. How are you going to feel if one of your relatives pass away? If somebody you love pass away and you didn't go the distance, you didn't try to show them you love them, You didn't write. You can't send a card. Really? I mean, seriously. You can't send a card? I got some relatives I've been sending Christmas cards for 10, 15 years and never even got a Christmas card back. I mean, yeah, the older ones always respond. But the younger ones, I mean, they're too busy to send a card. You know, I've been blessed to, be married to a woman who loves her family like that. Her and her sisters, they talk almost every day on the phone. I mean, they show each other love all the time. Sure, they have their disagreements like any other family. But you know what? After they have that disagreement, they may be distant for a day or two. But after that day or two, they're back in each other's lives. They're back showing each other's love. And somehow we lost that. I mean, I know we love each other. I'm sure of it. I feel deep down in my heart that, my family really love each other. I have a big family. But sometimes, I just wonder, how did we slip out of something we grew into? We grew up with parents that maintained a lot of contact with their family. And we have more technology than ever, to reach out to our family. And I have a lot of family members that I'm in contact with on Facebook. Lots of them. And to be honest with you, sometimes I have more friends reach out to me than I have family members. I ain't talking about all of them. Those of you that, know me. When you put your messages out about your family, I'm happy to read them. And when I put my messages out, I appreciate you, responding, throwing up prayers for my family. So I'm not talking to you. And nobody should take this personal, because this is what I'm talking about right now. A lot of times we take things too personal. And something is wrong when we take things so personal we're cutting each other off. Come on, people. I mean, what are we teaching our children? Maybe that's one of the faults that we're embedding in our kids that's making them so distrusting. That's stopping them from having good relationships. Is that we're not showing them we know how to have good relationships. So that's my message for the day is, show some love. I don't care if it's just, you see somebody's birthday on Instagram, on Facebook, wish them a happy birthday. You see somebody need a prayer, tell them I'm praying for you, Ask them, you need anything, can I help you with something, show some love. That's all I'm asking. And, I'm from a big family and we don't keep close contact like we should. Heck, I got friends that call me almost every other day. At least call me once a week and say, Big A, how you doing? I'm just reaching out. I'm just checking in, seeing how you doing. And I got family members I ain't heard from. I ain't gonna even mention how long it's been since I heard from some of my family members. And I know what some of y'all gonna say. Hey, the phone work both ways. Well, you're right, it does. It does work both ways. So, I'm as much at fault as anybody. But we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to stop meeting up at funerals. And we got to at least share a word. Heck, if you don't do nothing else. That's what I like about my Christmas card list. If I don't do nothing else, I can at least let you know once a year that I'm thinking about you. You're in my heart. I'm praying for you. I'm reaching out to you, trying to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. That's one good thing I can say about my Christmas cards. It gives me the opportunity to reach out. Because I know we all get busy. We all have flaws. Me too. Okay? We all have flaws. Our lives are busy with kids, grandchildren, if you got grandchildren. But show some love. This Big A telling you, don't lose that human contact, all right? God didn't mean for us to be by ourselves. Whatever you do for the least of my brethren, you do for me. That's God talking to you, not Big A, okay? So this Big A, peace out.